Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. It's good to be the boss. I got to sleep last night. Ray Hagar was here at the legislature as we roll into special session.
Well, Sam, yeah, we were here all night as the legislature could not get their work done. Today we have Senate Minority Leader Dina Titus, and on the Republican side, Senator Randolph Townsend of Reno.
And pundits discussing why we're here in special session. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
High-tech companies demand perfect world amenities. They require clean, reliable power, state-of-the-art fiber optic communications, and clean water sources. In a perfect world, companies would have immediate access to rail and interstate freeways. There would be 4-lane expressways that shorten shipping times and provide convenient commute routes for valued employees. Well, the future is now, and it's here. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
Coverage of Nevada Newsmakers from the state legislature in Carson City is brought to you by the Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
This is a special edition of Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
Well, we plan to be in Reno taping this show today, and we're still at the legislature. Senator Randolph Townsend is here. Senator Dina Titus is here. Ray Hagar is here. Okay, Senator Townsend, why are we still here? Why are we in special session?
Well, it's a combination of things. First of all, my personal feeling is that we have to have more self-discipline on how we proceed, and that's in both houses. This session, I think the Senate worked together remarkably well, and the policy that came out was very good. But we got off to a terrible start because we had an impeachment, we had 2 special sessions, our staff was way behind. We got focused right away on what we should have done, which was on property tax, and in a bipartisan manner. We finished that in 60 days, and we still didn't have any bills. So there was a combination of things, but it's coming to an end, so it's okay.
Senator Titus, we had the majority leaders from both houses on the program yesterday. They both assured us that we will be done by 1 a.m. this morning, and we're taping this at 5 minutes to 8 on Tuesday morning. Why are we still here?
Well, I recall earlier in the session somebody said we were going to get out early, and that certainly didn't happen.
That is true.
Early the next day. I think it's really unnecessary and unfortunate for us to still be here. The 2 bills that have kind of held things up, the rebate and the Millennium Scholarship, have been on the table from day one. There was no reason to wait until the very last night to try to negotiate that.
Folks, I've been up all night, and that's why I look like such a slob.
Excuse me,
Okay.
they have also been up all night.
Well,
Senator Townsend is exercised.
They have change of clothes
He is shaved. Senator Titus is as attractive as always.
Well,
so, Ray, what can I tell you?
Whatever. What really fried me last night was that the Assembly, you gave them that Millennium Scholarship bill 2 or 3 days ago, and they wait until the 11th hour on the final night to bring it back over to the Senate and have a conference committee to settle it. And I just thought that was they were playing chicken, that that they could get that through right at the last minute, and of course that didn't happen, and bada bing, we're at another special session.
There was a miscalculation on their part.
Yeah.
If they were playing chicken, if they thought by waiting until the last minute that would help them get their way, it certainly didn't. And I think that they, don't feel good about having pushed it into a special session.
Well, Senator, that's true, but I think a little bit of the blame has to go to Bob Beers for his comment when he talked about the undocumented workers, calling them illegal aliens. It really upset both Morris Arbery and Chris Giuliani, and after that it seemed like the negotiations didn't go downhill. They fell off a deep cliff.
Well, some of our members aren't going to win the Mr. Congeniality Award, but nonetheless, it's still about the policy. We have to respect one another. We have to use, obviously, better phraseology when we deal with one another. And we have an obligation to the public to behave in a manner where the issues are more important than anybody. And I think the vast majority of people try to do that. 1 or 2 members on both sides haven't quite grasped that yet, and they'll get there. But it's up to the rest of us to kind of lead the way and hopefully get around that.
The thing about that Millennium Scholarship negotiation, the Senate had Bob Beers doing their negotiations. The Assembly had Chris Giuliani. It was like Castro or Khrushchev versus Kennedy. I was waiting for somebody to come and smash their shoe on the table.
Well, that's the point, because when we went back in later, we went in, cooler heads prevailed,
Right.
and we got it done in about 15 minutes.
Was Bob Beers in the room?
No, nor Chris.
Well, there you go. We could have got out of here last night if those two would have not been in the first original negotiation team, perhaps.
For a lot of folks who are reading their morning papers, they're not up to speed on what's going on. What's left on the table at this point that needs to be wrapped up before we can say sine die?
Well, there are several bills that have to go back and forth. There's the special projects bill, the funding for programs that are outside the budget. The kindergarten bill we've got to wrap up. There's an initiative resolution. So it's kind of a hodgepodge, actually. It's not like the big education budget or anything like that.
And so what's your anticipated time for getting out of here?
Well, according to the governor in his proclamation, it's 10 a.m.
So 2 hours. You think we're going to get her done?
Well, his first proclamation was 7 a.m., and we didn't make that one.
Yeah, we didn't start till 5:30, so we got off to one more slow start.
If they can't get it done in 120 days, how do you expect them to finish it in 2 hours? I mean, we're going to have maybe 3 or 4 new proclamations before you finish?
No, I hope not. It's a function of if we get the bills, we'll get them voted on.
So essentially, there's nothing big left on the table at this point?
I don't think anything too controversial.
No.
We didn't think the Millennium Scholarship was controversial. That was supposed to have been solved in February.
Well, the longer things go, the more room there is for mischief. So if something comes up and people start to try to run amendments or make deals here at the last minute, then you're right, it could go on longer. If people try to get bills added to what the governor has given us as a list to consider, then that could make it go on longer. I think that's not a political good move for some people, though, to prolong this. We need to get it done, go home, and then let the voters decide.
Well, that's the big question for you, Senator Titus. You're running for governor, and all along it's been said by the pundits on this program and many others that if we go into special session, it would not be good for you or Speaker Perkins. How do you feel about that at this point?
Well, I don't think a special session was good, but you got to remember, I'm in the minority. I wasn't calling the shots. I think it's more on Richard's head than it is on mine.
I don't see how you can blame any one lawmaker for the sins of the 63.
We do it all the time.
Well, But in a month, will anybody really care that we had a 1 day or 2 day extra special session?
I think the people that run campaigns are going to feel that way.
And it's
Well,
not
I don't think
just-
the voters care.
You know, it's not just one special session, it's how many consecutive special sessions we've had, and it all adds up to kind of leadership qualities, and I think that's how it plays out.
But Senator, you're trying to spin that away from yourself and on to Richard Perkins.
Hey, if the shoe fits.
I'm going to defend my colleague here. She's right. She is in the minority here. We have a responsibility as being in the majority to be part of how we process this. And she has been very active with our leader, Senator Raggio, and they have worked very, very well together this year to process everything we have. We don't always agree, but we do it in a manner that I think is healthy and is the right way to do it.
Okay, bottom line for both of you. My production crew needs to know, do we need to be in Carson City tomorrow morning, or are we going to be doing the show from Reno?
You'll be in Reno.
I agree.
Oh, yeah, famous last word.
Famous last words. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof.
Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Back at the session that will not end, we're joined by Scott Craigie, Larry Matheis, and Bill Uffelman. Welcome to all of you. What went wrong, Scott?
Well, you know, the way that the legislature has deployed itself, if you will, over this session, there has been a lack of trust between the two houses, and it's become more and more apparent that neither the House nor the Senate really wants to be the one that steps forward, passes everything they have, and leave themselves, as I think they would view it, vulnerable. And because of this lack of trust, because of this serious division that's in the building, which, as I've said before here, is a serious division that's within the state. I mean, this really genuinely does reflect what's going on in the state of Nevada right now. Everybody has to have either something that's orchestrated or they have to have something in their hold card. And what we're seeing right now is a legislature that believes fiercely in divergent views from the other side and is going to do everything they can to make sure that their people are not underrepresented. It's a good instinct, but unfortunately it's divisive.
Larry, you know, who are the winners and losers here?
Well, certainly the institution itself is a bit of a loser. This is the third session in a row when they fail to do their work on time. However, the good news is that they have failed each time for different reasons. So at least they're not repeating the same
So they're
mistakes, they're
inconsistent
making
at
new
best.
ones. Yeah. No, I think given the way the permanent campaign now drives so much of this, I think the way the parties divide and the fact that breaking with the party on key things has significant campaign consequences are all part of what drives it. I think in this session, imagine if the property tax bubble had occurred in White Pine County instead of Clark County, instead of at Lake Tahoe. Would it have been such a driving issue for 2 months? Probably not. They'd have worked it out. They'd have figured out some way to handle it, but it wouldn't have been that important. Why? Because that's where a majority of the voters are, and between those two places is where a majority of the large contributors are. So I think that everything this session has been a little out of joint, partially because of the permanent campaign, and partially because of the unreconciled problems left over from the 2003 sessions.
Bill, as you look at this campaign and you represent the banking industry, what are your thoughts on this early morning here, the day after the session was supposed to end?
I knew you would ask that, and when as you said, the leftovers of the 2003 session. I mean, we as bankers started the 2005 session trying to fix what we consider some of the leftovers, the branch tax and the 2% payroll tax. We worked on it diligently, and Senate Bill 392 ultimately said one branch per bank per county was exempt from the branch tax, and it didn't make it last night before 1 a.m. This morning is Senate Bill 3, and it did make it out of the Senate. In fact, I think it was the first bill they passed this morning. That I presume will take care of itself. But it's the issues that we're confronting, I think, are going to be ongoing. We'll be back here in the 2007 session doing the same thing, and whether it's a 2007 session and a 2007 special session, we'll just
one thing about what happened this I'm sorry, Ray. One thing that happened with this legislative process at the end, we're not talking about business issues versus other businesses. We are talking about, full-day kindergarten. We're talking about a number of things that affect families and local communities, and I think it's going to strike home a lot more this time than it did last.
Well, your point about the reflection of the 50-50 breakup of this legislature reflecting our electoral, reflecting the voters is correct, because when you look at the million registered voters in Nevada, this isn't a blue state. It's certainly not a red state. It's kind of a green state, because they're evenly divided.
Mm-hmm. And that makes it harder for anybody to break ranks. That when you have sort of a disproportionate party edge one way or another. In fact, you can have people that peel off and have their own position. Mm-hmm. When you're this close and every race is going to be narrow, then I think it's harder to depart from the party line, and that can drive a legislative session like this where, how can bills pass unanimously one house and not get a hearing in the second house? How does that happen? And it happens largely because of this drive of the way the partisan split is run now and the way the permanent campaign is run now.
This legislature, it reminds me of World War I trench warfare. I mean, the two houses are so divided that, I think we're going to need a machine gun
well, they're divided, but they're divided against what they're for, not against what they're angry about. It seems aggressive, but it's not mean. It is aggressive because they've got goals that they have to get to.
I think there's a certain meanness in here. If a group has been mean, it's been the Assembly Democrats. They're the queens of mean.
Well, World War I, the good guys won, and hopefully when this is all done, the special session's done, the people of the state of Nevada will be the winners. So.
Last word, Larry.
It's been a lot of fun.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on three goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seemed to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers with another pundit panel here. We're still at the legislature, still in special session. And we've got Paul Enos here. We've got Marlene Lockhart and Chris Wicker. Welcome to all of you. Marlene, you've got a little bit of a different take on this than our previous pundit panel.
I absolutely do. I think when you talk about why did we go into special session to say, you know, we have all this convoluted divide in the red state, blue state kind of thing. I think you've seen in the Senate how Democrats and Republicans work together. And I think you can see they're supportive of each other, and it shows how a bipartisan effort can be advanced for the good of the state and getting the public's business done. I think this special session did not have to happen. It could have been avoided, and it was just political calculation gone awry.
Marlene is absolutely right. I mean, there is no reason, there is no good reason why we're in a special session
Absolutely.
right now.
You know why we're in a special session? Because yesterday I thought lawmakers for most of the day were putzing around.
Well, the Assembly kept taking 1 minute recesses every minute to figure out what they were going to do.
I think
There's fewer recesses in full-day kindergarten.
Well, we're in a special session, but I really hate the idea of talking about it. I don't think it's a failure at all. I mean, sure, we went in a special session, it cost some money, but I think this whole legislature has worked very well together. They've passed a lot of compromises, and the fact we're in a special session for another day, big deal.
Have you been up all night?
I've been up all night.
Chris, it absolutely is a big deal.
Well, first of all, it's $50,000 of the taxpayers' money.
Exactly.
Correct?
And Chris, there are many good things that came out of this session. And I think the legislators worked very hard, and I think there's a lot of good that's going to happen. But this was a failure for the institution, and it was a failure of leadership. This could have been adjourned. It could have been managed properly, and we could have ended on time.
In the past three legislative sessions that we've had, we have got regular sessions. We have had 2 special sessions for. It is absolutely ridiculous, and you're absolutely right. There's a failure of leadership. I think you have one leader who is much...
Paul and I agree.
If you look back years ago, the legislature would go days and days and days. And so we had the new law limited to 120 days. So the fact the legislature goes over a day, it costs $50,000, $100,000. But these legislatures have worked their rear ends off this whole session.
I'm not disagreeing with you that they're not working their rear ends off. But when you have the people of the state of Nevada say, legislature, you're only going to be in for 120 days, and it is ignored 3/4 of the time, that is a problem. That is an absolute failure, Chris.
Well, I have to disagree because I think they've worked hard. I think there's been a lot of good compromises reached in this legislature, and I think a lot of good business has happened. And so you went over a day. I don't think in the long run that's going to be
I don't think
a major
people
issue.
are going to care if it goes over a day.
Well, I think
It's
they're going to
just
carry the next round of
taxpayer money.
elections.
I bet it won't be. I don't think this will, a 1 day or 2 day special session is not going to be a campaign issue
Ray,
a year down
I'm
the
sorry.
road.
Are you crazy? They've been writing campaign speeches and they've been writing campaign commercials
So how many,
since day one of this session.
How many people got thrown out of office last time when we had 27 days extra of special sessions?
Well, I think you're going to
Totally
see
different circumstance.
Yes,
I agree. Totally different circumstance.
Marlene and I agree. What the hell is going on?
Somebody should point this out.
Water
Here
is
we are.
turning into wine.
No, it's not going to matter in the long run. It's really
I
not.
agree with Chris.
And I think it's very cavalier to just throw out, an extra day, an extra couple
It's
of days.
only $50,000.
$50,000 a day. We're rebating money back to the taxpayers because we overtaxed them.
We're rebating $300 million.
Right.
What is $50,000?
If it's 50 grand to get the policy
Oh, that's the year
laws right, then it's worth
Chris, that is just not a good
That's a sign that
attitude.
you have a very good income for your family, and that's great for you. But there's a lot of people out in our audience who are watching today who are saying to themselves, $50,000, that's a lot more money than I earn per year, and we're just wasting it because the legislature couldn't get the job done.
Let's put it in perspective. We have a $6 billion state general fund. $50,000 to pay to get the policy right, to get the laws correct, is money well spent in the state.
Okay, why did it take less than an hour to get the bill, the negotiation on the Millennium Scholarship settled an hour after the deadline passed?
Well, it's just the dynamics of negotiation. That's what happens.
Absolutely not. The dynamics of negotiation are you don't want to go over that point of no return. And 1 o'clock yesterday, or I'm sorry, 1 o'clock this past morning, was the point of no return, Chris. And
there was no point of no return. I'm sorry, but
it's called
we're going to get the
120
business
days
done.
with an extra hour for daylight savings.
It's 121 days. Who's counting?
120
Come on,
days
they don't
in 1
even
hour.
work the whole full 120 days anyway. They take all the weekends off.
All right, we got to stop it right here. We'll have more pundits coming up tomorrow. We'll discuss more of this, and hopefully we will be back in Reno taping this show and not in Carson City with a continuing special session. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after.
And I'll shave by tomorrow.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, water resources come from fresh, clean groundwater, approved by state permits. The water is pumped from wells to million-gallon storage tanks and then distributed to TRI companies. Another amenity is our investment in a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This disposal system converts waste to clean water for industrial applications. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevada.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Well, hopefully we will not be in Carson City tomorrow. We should be back in the studio. Ray, what we got coming up?
Well, I wouldn't hold my breath the way these people are working down here, but tomorrow we're going to continue with this diverse panel of pundits.
Pundits, pundits, pundits. We'll see you on the next Nevada Newsmakers.